Hello class, this is how to construct a budget line, which is part of your slides for chapter 1. Let's get right into it. So if you look at this line, all of this is already pre-made as part of your slides. My goal here is just to interpret some of the more important information. So first of all, you have this line here, which is a function of the number of DVD sales, 6, which corresponds to this 6, and the number of books, 0, which is why you are on the y-axis right here. So this point right here represents 6 and 0, and this point down here represents 12 books and 0 DVDs. Now why do I start there? Because if your budget is $120 and you spend all of it on either DVDs and books, at the extreme, meaning you spend all your money on DVDs, you can buy 6 of them. 6 times 20 is 120. And if you spend 120 of your dollars, you have nothing left, which means you have $0 left for books. Now, what if you spend all of your money on books? Well, if you have $120 and each book costs $10, then you can buy 12 books. If you buy 12 books, then you do not have any more money, which means you can only afford 0 DVDs. So this is called the budget constraint. Those are the two extreme ends. In the middle, suppose you bought 5 DVDs for $20 each. That would be $100. And with $20 left, you could buy 2 books. Again, if you bought 5 DVDs, that would be $100 you spend, because each DVD is 20 bucks. And then you'd have $20 left, which means you could buy 2 books. Let's look at one more. If you buy 4 DVDs, then you've spent $80 and you have $40 left, and then you could buy 4 books. So now, what do we mean by unattainable and attainable? Well, anything in this area here would be considered attainable, meaning any combination of DVDs or paperback books could be purchased if those purchases put you below this blue line. In other words, suppose you bought 2 DVDs and 2 books. That would put you right here. That's attainable. 4 DVDs and 2 books. That's attainable. 2 DVDs and 6 books. That's attainable. For example, 4 DVDs is going to cost you $80. 2 books is going to cost you $20. That's this point, 4 and 2, and 80 plus 20 is 100, well within your budget. Let's look at this point. 2 DVDs will cost you $40, and 2 books will cost you $20. That would be $60, well within your budget, making that combination of goods attainable. So any area below the blue line represents an attainable purchase. Unattainable means just that. If you purchase, for example, 6 DVDs and 6 books, making you graphically end up right here, that is unattainable. Why? Because it's outside of your budget. 6 DVDs cost you $120. 6 books cost you $60. 120 plus 60 is 180. Your budget is only 120, so 6 and 6, unattainable. Let's look at another one. Let's just choose this point here. 8 DVDs, that's $160. And also 8 paperback books, that would be $80. 160 plus 80 is $240. You don't have the money. You only have $120. So any point to the right of this blue line is considered unattainable. Now let's consider the slope of the blue line. How do we measure the slope? Well, if you go back to geometry class, you'll remember that you construct it by taking the rise over the run. So if I get a pen going here, alright, let's write that down. Rise over run, right? That equals the slope. And so let's take a look at how we construct the slope. let's find 3 points on the line to construct our slope. So let's take this point here, let's call this point A, right? That's that 6 and 0 point. Let's find this point right here, that's point B. That's going to be our 5 and 2 combination, and point C is our 4 and 4 combination. Alright, on the left side of the table, we're going to draw the corresponding points. So that's an A, that's a B, and that's a C. So how do we find the slope? Well, let's go from point A to B and find that slope. What is the rise going from point A to B? Well, if we start here at point A, we're at 6, and we go down to 5. So the rise is a -1, right? Going from A to B goes from 6.6 to 0.5. And let me even go so far as to draw the number 5 here, because you don't see it, but technically it is there, right? That corresponds with that point. So going from 0.6 to 0.5 is a -1 rise. So what we would do is write -1 for our rise. Now what's the run going from point A to B? Again, you must be consistent. If you're going to start from A to B with the rise, you must do the same with the run, okay? So, in terms of run, we're looking at our horizontal axis. At point A, our horizontal axis is a 0, okay? As we see right here, 0. At point B, at the horizontal axis, we're looking at 2, which is the quantity of paperback books. So we're going from 0 to 2, so therefore our run would be a +2. So that's our slope. From point A to B, the slope would be a -0.5. 0.5. And you may notice that this line is a straight line, indicating that we have a constant slope. If you wanted to test that, just take a couple more points. In other words, take B and C. If you look at point B, the start of point B is at number 5 DVDs, and the end of going to C is 4. So the rise again would be -1, going from 5 to 4. That's the rise. What's the run? Well, at point B we start with 2 books, and at point C we have 4 books. So our run would be a +2. So -1 again and +2 would give us a slope of -0.5. And by the way, you know it's negative because it's what? A downward sloping line. So that's how you construct the slope based on the table that you're given. And last, let's figure out opportunity cost of 1 DVD, and then we'll look at the opportunity cost of 1 book. Okay, so opportunity cost is not a difficult concept, but it's important that you implement it consistently. And here's how you do it. The opportunity cost of gaining 1 item is simply the cost of foregoing another item. To calculate the opportunity cost of 1 DVD, you ask yourself the question, if I gain 1 DVD, in other words, I go from 5 DVDs to 6 DVDs, I've gained 1, how many books do I lose? Well, if I have 5 DVDs, I have 2 books, and when I have 6 DVDs, I have 0 books. So, when I go from 5 to 6 DVDs, I lose 2 books. Therefore, we can safely say that the opportunity cost of gaining 1 DVD is 2 books. Now let's calculate the opportunity cost of gaining 1 book. So, this is a little bit more complicated than 1 DVD because the units of books go by 2s. In other words, they go from 0, 2, 4, etc. Whereas with the DVDs, we went 4, 5, 6. And again, opportunity cost is always measured in the 1 unit change. So, let's look at having 2 books and gaining 2 and determining the cost of that. Going from 2 to 4 means you've gained 2 books. How many DVDs did you lose? Well, when you had 2 books, you had 5 DVDs. When you gained 2 more books and had 4 total books, you have 4 DVDs. When you gained 2 books, you lost 1 DVD. So, gain 2, lose 1. If you gain 1, then you lose half. Going from 2 to 4 tells me that I've gained 2 books and I've lost 1 DVD. So I could say that differently. The cost of gaining 2 books is losing 1 DVD. What's the cost in that same scenario of gaining 1 book? Going from 2 to 3, in other words. Well, if I gain 1 book, then I know I must be losing half a DVD, because gaining 2 books results in me losing 1 whole DVD. So again, gain 2, lose 1, gain 1, lose half. Very important interpretation of the use of the opportunity cost concept, which is, it's all measured in the 1 unit, not the 2, the 3, the 4 unit, but we break everything down to 1 and say, when we gain 1 unit of something, what do we lose? What's the cost of gaining that 1 unit?